And a welcome here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here with us. Appreciate your patience this morning as we had a few things worked out here in the studio. We are inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios, and of course, Great Lakes Honda City there for you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can go there for sales and service Monday through Saturday. Once again, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. And of course, you can get a sneak peek of all their inventory and all of their deals they have here at the end of the year by simply going to GreatLakesHondaCity.com. That's GreatLakesHondaCity.com. So make sure you do that this morning. We appreciate y'all being here up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt and on wakeupcalldt.podbean.com, as well as on facebook.com/wakeupcalldt. So however you've connected with the show, we thank you so much for tuning in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, and cannot say enough thanks to all the people up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. With that being said, here on the show, we have an awesome broadcast set up here for you this morning inside of MaandPazPopcorn.com's What's Poppin'. We're going to start things off with Gary Stokan. Gary Stokan and I had the opportunity to talk. We talk each year, and of course, he's been on the show and been featured this year. And now that we know the setup for the college football playoff and where the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl in one of the semifinal games is set up here and kind of that road to get to that semifinal game, I have the opportunity to speak with Gary Stokan, President, CEO of Peach Bowl, Inc., which oversees the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl as well as the Aflac kickoff game, an integral part of bringing the College Football Hall of Fame to Atlanta, plus more, including the SEC title game and having a connection with the SEC with that game at Mercedes-Benz Stadium, where the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is also played. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Gary Stokan, multi-layered conversation. Speaking about teams that got in, teams that didn't get into the college football playoff, we reach out to topics all around the college football world connecting to the college football playoff. So don't miss a moment of what's coming up with Gary Stokan, as well as in hour number 2 from 10 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time today. Steve Addazio will be joining me, the longtime collegiate football coach and now the college football analyst for ESPN, will be speaking with me about bowl season as well as the college football playoff, and we're going to discuss a bunch of different topics. Steve and I will be. Those topics include the fact that we will look at schools opting out, if that will kill the bowl season, in his opinion, as a longtime coach. Has bowl season been watered down already? And the value of a bowl game outside of the college football playoff, as well as the 12 teams chosen and the seeding. Does he agree or disagree with teams that were put in or teams that didn't make it? Does he agree with the seeding? And then we'll also talk about coaches leaving before the end of the season. So a lot of great stuff coming up with Steve Addazio, as well as Gary Stokan. Gary's first, and Gary will be up for you right after this fast break on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Stay with us.
Hi, this is Amy from Mother's Cupboard, home of the whole frittata. We are open daily 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. For takeout orders, call 315-432-0942 and tune in to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora for our monthly food challenge and try our Wake Up Call signature menu item available 7 days a week. Here at Mother's Cupboard, we are Central New York, and it's our honor to serve you.
Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory remind us that every day is worth celebrating at 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Open Monday through Saturday in-store and always online at maandpazpopcorn.com. Serving our Central New York community and beyond, order anywhere, anytime at maandpazpopcorn.com. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's on 201 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York to get your half-price refills for the rest of your life. Stop in to get a tin at Ma and Pa's for your holiday gift giving for family, friends, employees, and clients. And remember, for fundraising and events, to call 315-450-6272. That's 315-450-6272. Ma and Pa's Kettle Corn and Popcorn Factory. How corny are you?
This is Jimmer Sikowski, owner-operator of Chick-fil-A Cicero, 7916 Brewerton Road in Cicero, right in front of the Home Depot. I had a deep feeling that God wanted me to do something bigger with my life and to help people, help others. I kept putting Chick-fil-A in my life, and I realized as I was going through the franchise selection process that positively impacting the lives of others was really core to what we do here at Chick-fil-A. First of all, it starts with the food. The food is brought in fresh daily. We bring in local produce. We prepare to order in the kitchen. We hand butter chicken. We hand spin our milkshakes. It's great food. It doesn't taste like fast food. I think the second thing is the way people feel when they come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. It's different. We try to treat people with intentional kindness here, which is very different and deeper than good customer service. And so I think it feels remarkable for most people to come in a Chick-fil-A restaurant. And then lastly, the impact that we try to have in the community is very different. It's a big part of the expectation of every operator of a Chick-fil-A restaurant is that they're actively engaged in their community, they're a leader in the community, and they're making a difference. When they realize that what we're striving to do is to shine a little light in their life, that's a very, very different experience than you will have at any other quick service restaurant. And it's that remarkable experience that I think people will emotionally connect with.
Here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We call this DT on the CFP. We've been doing this for years, college football playoff on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios. I am picture in picture with someone that I have known for, at least a decade at this point, and that is Peach Bowl Inc. President, CEO Gary Stokan, overseeing the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl inside the college football playoff in this 2025-26 season. Mr. Stokan, how are we doing?
Hey, Dan, Merry Christmas to you and all your listeners. How are you?
And a Merry Christmas to you as well. I love that you say that because, it's funny. I was down in Florida and I was at Universal Studios and Walt Disney World. If they said anything to you, they said Happy Holidays. Then if you said Merry Christmas, they could say it back and they got really excited. So I'm very grateful that you're one of those people that doesn't wait for it and you just straight up say Merry Christmas. So I always appreciate that about you, Gary. I appreciate your faith, is what I'm saying.
Thank you. Appreciate yours as well.
Well, I value that very much, as you know. So we are here inside of this college football playoff, getting things started, jumping right into it. This is a tough decision for the committee to make. I know that you as the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, you're not making the decision. You're watching what unfolds and how it happens. It comes down to head-to-head, and there's coaches leaving, coaches staying, and whatnot. In the case of Ole Miss, they don't have Lane Kiffin. In the case of Tulane and James Madison, they have their coaches in John Summerall and Bob Chesney, respectively. Notre Dame plays Miami head-to-head. They have the same record. As a fan of college football, what was it like to watch this unveiling of this group of 12 that we have in the playoff this year?
Well, I don't know if you've done it, but I've sat in the room in Gaylord and gone through a mock selection, and it's very, very interesting. It's enlightening as to how much data and information they have in front of them.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to make a bad decision. I think, unfortunately, in the case of the AD at Notre Dame and Mr. Bavacqua and Mr. Phillips at the ACC, I think they got caught up in the week-to-week rankings that come out, which have nothing to do with anything until the last rankings. I did a lot of interviews. Gosh, I remember when Georgia lost to Alabama, and all the Georgia people were crying and, oh, we're not going to make it to the playoff and this and that. And here they win the SEC, and they get a number 3 bye.
Yeah.
So as I tell people, you just have to let the schedule play out. You have to let the season go on, and at the end, you get the CFP selection committee that makes decisions. Unfortunately, because the Miami Notre Dame thing, Miami was ranked, lower than Notre Dame by 5 or 6 because of their midseason slump there with SMU and Louisville, and never brought into conversation the head-to-head with Notre Dame. And as things got closer and Notre Dame got better, or Miami got better as the year went on, now it became more of an issue. And at the end of the day, obviously, head-to-head should matter. That's why you play the games. And, we've always been an advocate, starting the kickoff game format, that these games do matter. And they do provide a major data point for the CFP. And that's evident this year. Miami, Notre Dame, if they don't play that game, Miami or Notre Dame might not get in, depending on who they played. But because they played the game, Miami did get in. That was a major data point. So, it's competition. It's America. It's where you win it on the field. And so, I can understand why the selection committee put Miami in.
Yeah, and there's another part to it. And you mentioned kind of like the commissioner of the ACC, the AD at Notre Dame, and whatnot. When this, and I know this, Gary, of working in business for many years, when something happens, there's emotion. Mm-hmm. And you have to take a step back, take a deep breath before you react. It seems like in this situation of Notre Dame not getting in, there was no breath taken. And now we're looking at could be permanent damage to the ACC, all these things being said. I feel like there's a lot going on. ESPN was running on their ticker like, hey, next year Notre Dame's going to have a good chance of getting it before they play any games. It's like, it seems like there's a lot of emotional things being made that probably could have a very bad domino effect. As a business person, how do you look at everything that's kind of unfolded this year?
Dan, that's a great point, and you're astute in making it. I have had emails, I've had letters, ready to go after emotionally being involved in a decision that maybe didn't go my way or I didn't favor, and I always used the rule of one day. So I let it sit for one day and let it percolate. And then I come back and decide whether I want to send the email or the letter or just suck it up and throw it in the trash can or erase it. I think, unfortunately, in this social media world that we live in, to some degree, you have to play to your base as well because they want an immediate reaction because everything is so immediate now with social media and, the internet. And so, I just don't understand if we say everything's for the kids, and then not to have the kids play in a bowl game, that didn't make a whole lot of sense to me. Fully understand the perspective, the feeling. Don't quite agree with the comments made to the ACC commissioner, Jim Phillips, who, for all intents and purposes, the ACC have given Notre Dame a schedule in football of 6 games.
Yeah.
For all intents and purposes, the ACC has accepted Notre Dame in all their basketball and their Olympic sports. So, that was a tough call to make, but I can understand the emotion probably hit and probably had to say something for his base, social media-wise, to know that he's standing up for the players and the coaches, etc. But just it didn't have a good feel because he is a part of the CFP, and the CFP has made these roles and put the onus on the selection committee to go through the process. So, you have to accept it, whatever they decide.
It also seemed like one of the easiest decisions a committee would ever have to make is the exact same record head-to-head who won. I feel like there's a lot more things to argue about, like a Texas with 3 losses, yet 3 top 12 wins, and, knowing what they've done this year and them being left out, or a Vanderbilt. Now, you and I have talked about the world of the bowl season, Gary, before, and that the college football playoff is a path to the national title. The Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl is one of the 6 bowls that is a part of this path. There's many other bowls, though, and there's over a month of bowl season with not just Notre Dame, but Notre Dame in a unique place, right? Because they didn't get in the playoff, and their response was, well, if you're not letting us in, then we're not doing anything. Where Kansas State and Iowa State and Baylor and all these other teams, they had no shot of getting in the playoff, but they also said, we're not going to play in a bowl game. What is your take about what that can do? If schools, because you said if it's all about the kids, people forget Notre Dame, you got grad students, you got seniors that didn't know that that was going to be their last game. So in the world of an institution saying, we're not playing in a bowl, we're going to choose what bowl we're in, we're going to deny these bowls till we get the one we want, or we're just not going to play in the bowl season unless you put us in the playoff. We're going to punish you all because we didn't get our way. Could this kill the bowl system outside of the college football playoff? What we're seeing happen right now with so many schools saying that they refuse to play in a bowl game.
Yeah, another great point, Dan. Back in the BCS when it was started, I remember in 1998, I just came on the job and I made the comment in USA Today that the BCS is going to hurt the bowl system because most of the media will flock to those 4 bowl games, and it'll hurt the rest of the bowls. And I was right. Roy Kramer ripped me, but I was right. And you fast forward now to a 14 playoff. The same thing happened. It hurt the bowls. And now a 12-team playoff has hurt the bowls. On one side, you've got the TV networks, mainly ESPN, who makes more money over the 2 weeks of bowl season or 3 weeks, whatever it is now, than they do at any other time during the year because a lot of people are off work. A lot of people have time to watch TV. They like watching the bowl games. The viewership is better than a lot of NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball all-star games or even playoff games. So there's viewership there. With viewership comes the opportunity to advertisement dollars, which ESPN's in the business to make money. And so you can understand why, they want that bowl season to exist. We just have such a diverse amount of problems in college football right now, let alone college athletics, that we don't have the calendar right. The NIL has caused problems. The transfer portal has caused problems. The early signing date for high school kids has caused problems. There's so many issues with college football. And unfortunately, the playoff has done such a good job of creating interest in viewership and attendance because there's more teams eligible to possibly fight out to get into that playoff into November and early December now.
Yeah.
So it's going to be interesting to see what the commissioners do come January 23rd when they make a decision on what the playoffs will be in 26 through 31, whether they stay at 12, whether they go to 16. The Big Ten's promoting the 20 or 24 teams. No matter what it is, you'll always have the next team or 2 teams after that number will, create a controversy that they deserve to be in the playoff. So you're always going to have that. What's the right number? Remains to be seen what the commissioners decide. The great thing is we at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl just want to be a part of it, as we have been last year with the quarterfinal and this year with the CFP semifinal at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Well, and Gary, to your point of being a part of it as a quarterfinal, now a semifinal this year, you've been a semifinal in the rotation of the 4-team college football playoff in the past, but you didn't have to wait. Now you have to wait 2 rounds to figure out who it's going to be. So bring me into the prep of this because we have Oregon hosting James Madison in round one. We have Oklahoma in a rematch with Alabama hosting Alabama. The winner of Oregon James Madison will go to the Orange Bowl to face off against 4-seed Texas Tech. The winner of Alabama Oklahoma will go to the Rose Bowl to face off against Indiana. And then you see who you get from there. So you have 6 teams to essentially prepare for instead of knowing what it is. So this is the first time that the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl has ever been a semifinal in the college football playoff when you didn't know your matchup ahead of time. How has that affected planning, and what has that done to challenge you and the team?
Yeah, great credit to my staff and the CFP staff. We've had a lot of meetings over the last year and put in Zoom calls and meeting times for teams to come into Atlanta, for us to speak to the teams via Zoom, to go through the participation guide with respect to hotels, credential numbers, hospitality, room assignments, everything that you can imagine, logistic-wise, to put on, a semifinal game. And so, and in parallel to that, we've had numerous meetings monthly with Mercedes-Benz Stadium to deal with the same type of issues. So, a lot of pre-planning, a lot of preparation, and once these first games on the 19th and 20th happen, then we'll narrow it down and we'll have Zoom calls with all the teams that are left, and then we'll have them into Atlanta to go through the hotels, Mercedes-Benz Stadium, and walk through our guide with us. So, yeah, a lot happening in parallel. And it is a little strange. Normally we know our teams, as you said earlier. Last year we were at Texas Clemson, knowing the winner of that game was going to play in our quarterfinal. It's a little bit different. But to have the potential of the type of teams that we'll have playing for the opportunity, one of them to go to the national championship game, is quite exciting for us at the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Yeah, we look at this season, the Aflac kickoff game had 2, Virginia Tech, South Carolina, Syracuse, Tennessee. Then you had the SEC championship at Mercedes-Benz Stadium as well, and that was between Alabama and Georgia. Now you have a chance that you could potentially see Alabama again at Mercedes-Benz Stadium in Atlanta. Just what overall, kind of as a final note, that not just the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl and not just the college football playoff, but seeing so much come through Atlanta. You've been a big proponent of taking care of the community and building up the community. The SEC title game and 2, not 1, but 2 Aflac kickoff games made this year extremely exciting before we even get to the Peach Bowl.
Yeah, it was our strategy and our vision to create Atlanta as the capital of college football. So we went out strategically, recruited the College Football Hall of Fame to build it, sustain it, and organize and manage it here in Atlanta, and then to create the kickoff games, and then to jump into the CFP in 2014. So it's been a plan that's, as well as hosting the SEC in Atlanta. We originally, the Peach Bowl was a big part of bringing that to Atlanta in 1992. The SEC doesn't need as much help now because they're so successful, but we still sell some tickets to it and help in that way. Yeah. But to have all those events in Atlanta, and basically within one calendar year, have hosted the CFP quarterfinal, the national championship game, and now this year the semifinal, is quite a testament to our staff, our board, the fans of Atlanta, the volunteers, as well as Mercedes-Benz Stadium.
That coming from Gary Stokan. Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl coming up here in the semifinal of the College Football Playoff. Peach Bowl Inc. President and CEO Gary Stokan, spending many years here on the show. Gary, I know that you are a busy man. I appreciate your time today, and I can only finish this by saying 2 things. Merry early Christmas, and I can't wait to see you in Atlanta for the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl.
Well, Dan, have a Merry Christmas. We'll look forward to hosting you when you get down here. Thanks so much for having us.
Of course. Be safe, and I'll talk to you soon.
Okay.
See you. And now a message from Myers Creek Brewing Company, with locations at their Cazenovia Farm Brewery, Syracuse Inner Harbor Tap Room, and soon-to-be Lake Placid Tap Room.
Well, I think first and foremost, the Feldmeyer family and our team are extremely passionate about what we do. We care very much about what we do. The Feldmeyer family is always investing. Our taproom management team, our brew management team, our marketing management team, and all of the team members that get after it every day, they leave it on the field. They put their heart and soul into it. I know for a fact that everyone that works at Myers Creek wants to be there, and we want them to be there. You know, we want them to feel good about their job. And again, if you've never been to Myers Creek, especially to the brewery, I mean, I want your eyes to open really big. I want you to see how big of a brand this is. I want you to see where we're going. The sky is the limit, and I feel very proud of that, and I'm very excited about that. When you think of designing a menu for a brewery, it's kind of open to a lot of different interpretations. I mean, you can do American, you can do Asian, you can do Italian, and you just have to find, you know, how that meets that pub style dining experience, that gastropub vibe. And I think it's super fun for us because obviously we know that, you know, everyone in the world's going to sell a pizza or a burger or a french fry, but what can we do to be different? And what can we do to be true to who we are? We are a brewery, you know, a brew pub. So the flavor profiles are kind of all over the place. And I think it's super cool that we have a massive smoker at the brewery in Cazenovia, and we smoke a lot of our products. A delicious smoked turkey. We have barbecue ribs on Sundays. From a pulled pork sandwich to a chicken wing, and you go to the Inner Harbor and you go to the Kaz location, and you'll find similarities in the menu, but also things that are a little different, and also kind of fit those different demographics or different communities, and also hopefully just drive you to try every tap room that we have open at some point, because you get a little something different at each one. You know, we understand how hard it is to, you know, work every day and get after it every day, and when you're done at the end of your day, you want to go out and put your feet up in a good ambiance and good environment. So we take pride in that. We make sure that everyone knows that they're very much valued to us.
This is Jim Dispenza, owner of Game Point Sports Complex. You hear the same story across any sport that kids play and any sport that adults play. There's never enough places to play. That was definitely true with volleyball, definitely true with basketball. Could be cheerleading, it could be field hockey, which is what we're seeing now. Every sport has a lack of places to play, and I think Syracuse in particular is a place where it's really bad. Despite the fact that we've got a lot of athletic talent around here, we just seem to have not enough places for people to play, and they're going to different places. They're going to Rochester, they're going to, you know, Buffalo. They're going all different places because we don't have a place here, and I felt like that should change. This was a long project from planning all the way through execution to opening the doors. A lot of work went into it, obviously a lot of money, a lot of resources, and the dream always was kids being in the gym, having a good time. And I've always felt like sports is the most unfiltered joy that you can observe with people, that people can experience, because it is fun, it is a sense of accomplishment, it's all of that wrapped into one thing. And so watching kids going up and down the court with big smiles on their faces has been just amazing experience. I'm looking forward to years to come of that same thing. We've taken the time to invest in multiple sports, and then what we're finding is the mere fact that we have a large, clean, well-lit space has opened a lot more doors for us beyond basketball, volleyball, pickleball. Now we're having some interest from cheerleading. We've got girls field hockey coming in, and then also there's quite a bit of room for spectators. We've got bleachers, we've got benches, we've got a concession lounge where people can get food and drinks. We're going to have multiple sports going at the same time, using every square inch of this place for what it was conceived for, which is basically people to come in, have a good time in the sport that they prefer. We manage each situation differently. You know, everybody has different ability to afford different things. Some are bringing 10, 15 people, some are just 2 people. I've had a lot of situations where it's a father shooting around with his son, it's a mother playing pickleball with her daughter or with her son, and in those situations come up and we work with people, and that's allowed us to have groups from 2 people up to 30 people and have some flexible pricing behind it. We're an organization that is here to work with the community any way we can, and I guess part of it is just making sure that we have the flexibility to put together a plan that makes sense regardless of the size of your group. So in order to book time, the best option is to go to our website, gamepointsports-syr.com. You can click from there and sign up for events, sign up for your own particular training, sign up for birthday parties, all of that.
And And a welcome back here to Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. We appreciate you being here, hanging out with us inside the Great Lakes Honda City studios. Great Lakes Honda City coming to you on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. You can go and see them for sales and service Monday through Saturday. And, of course, you could go to GreatLakesHondaCity.com right now to check out all the deals and everything they have to offer you for the end of the year sales. So make sure you do that today. I want to welcome everybody for being here with us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time, up and down the East Coast, the Midwest, the West Coast, and all around the globe. YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both / WakeUpCallDT, and on WakeUpCallDT.podbean.com. So however you're connected with us, we thank you so much for hanging out where sports meets life. I have an opportunity here as we have some time between now and when Steve Addazio is going to be joining us in hour number 2. So with that being said, after hearing from Gary Stokan, the president, CEO of Peach Bowl, Inc., who I appreciate so very much for all the work that he's done and everything, not just the work that he's done and the work that he's put in, but the human being more than anything that he has been, and giving me an opportunity and sitting down with me so many years ago in Greensboro, North Carolina at an ACC kickoff event, and just giving me a chance to get to know him and him me, and building a relationship as we have over the years has truly meant a lot to me. So I just want to give a shout out to a good man and a good human being, and somebody who opened a door when not everybody was doing that. So I want to thank Gary Stokan for that. As we have a few minutes here in between, there's some things that have gone on in the NFL, and torn ACLs, which are very sad to see. Micah Parsons, who is involved in a trade from the Dallas Cowboys to the Green Bay Packers, he ends up tearing his ACL in their game yesterday against the Denver Broncos, and God bless to him, and may he heal and get well and stay well. May he heal completely and for good. And the same for Pat Mahomes. May he heal completely and for good after tearing his ACL in the Kansas City game that was played yesterday with the Kansas City Chiefs against the Chargers. And the Chiefs are out of the playoffs now. So just kind of, strange situation, definitely for the Chiefs, because they play in a game against the Chargers, they lose by 3, and they're out of playoff contention now. They won't even make the playoffs. They've been making the playoffs every year, it feels like, for the last 100 years, and of course, they've won multiple Super Bowls, and now they've been eliminated along with the Raiders of the AFC West, and you think, okay, if they weren't eliminated, but Pat Mahomes tears his ACL, then what would it even mean at that point? Anyways, if they were still in contention, if they did make the postseason, but they did it without Pat Mahomes, and it's no disrespect to Gardner Minshew or anybody else on the team, it's just, not having Pat Mahomes with you. I mean, that's going to hurt. Washington, I thought early this year, before anything even got going, I had a feeling that Washington could be a really special team this season if they stayed healthy, but that was a big if, and that if did not come to fruition. They're bounced from the playoffs this year. The Giants will not make the playoffs. So you look at the teams already eliminated here in NFL Week 15. The Jets are the only team eliminated from the AFC East. From the AFC North, the Cincinnati Bengals, who are without Joe Burrow for a good portion of this season, they're out of it. The Cleveland Browns, who have played 3 quarterbacks this year. I don't know the last time they played under 3 quarterbacks. That seems to be a normal thing of their last, 3-4 seasons. So Cleveland is eliminated. So 2 teams from the AFC North in Cleveland and Cincinnati. In the AFC South, the Tennessee Titans have been eliminated, who had the number 1 pick in Cam Ward. We look at the AFC West, the Chiefs and the Raiders, as I mentioned. And then in the NFC, the Washington Commanders and the New York Giants of the NFC East. So half of the NFC East has been eliminated. Believe it or not, but again, dealing with injuries and dealing with a quarterback that wasn't there last year. This year, he came back. He started to do things well. He got injured, tried to come back again, and now they're eliminated. Speaking of J.J. McCarthy and the Minnesota Vikings. In the NFC South, again, injured quarterback. Every position matters on a team. Every position does, including in the NFL. Right, including in football. it's with saying that every position matters, if there's the reality that the quarterback position, if your quarterback is not healthy, if your quarterback is not available, right? If your starting guy is not there. Look at Syracuse this year, 3-1 with Steve Angeli. I don't think they necessarily would have won every other game after that, but I don't think they would have went 0-8. So the quarterback position is extremely important to any team when it comes to the sport of football. I don't care what level you're playing. The quarterback position is incredibly, incredibly, incredibly important. And it's not to downplay any other position. It's just if every other position is clicking on all cylinders and everything is working, but you don't have a quarterback, look at what happens to the teams. I mean, let's go up and down the line here, right? The Jets didn't have a true number one. It didn't work out with Aaron Rodgers. He goes off to Pittsburgh. It doesn't work with Justin Fields. They go through injuries. They go through, this haphazard season. The quarterback position's not working out. It's not everything, but look at the Jets. They didn't have a true number one. Look at Cincinnati. They didn't have Joe Burrow went out. Not that Joe Flacco was bad, but Joe Burrow goes out. Look at what happens. Cleveland didn't have a true number one. Played 3 different quarterbacks. Look at what happens. Tennessee, rookie quarterback. Typically, they struggle in their first season. Look at what happens. Kansas City. Kansas City had Pat Mahomes up until this last game, so maybe they're the enigma here, but what they would have been going forward would have been interesting. The Raiders, they had Geno Smith. It wasn't working out. Look at what happens to them. Washington, Jaden Daniels goes down. Look at what happens there. The Giants, they have been through 3 quarterbacks this season. Now they're eliminated. Minnesota lost J.J. McCarthy. Now they're eliminated. The Atlanta Falcons lost Michael Penix Jr. They're eliminated. The New Orleans Saints came in to this season with the most wide-open quarterback competition. I feel like they still don't have a true number one. They're eliminated. In Arizona, Kyler Murray got injured again, and they're eliminated. So, I mean, folks, when you look at the teams that are eliminated from the NFL postseason, it is very clear that those that didn't have their starting quarterback or a starting quarterback that they could lean on going into the season, it's no surprise as we look at those teams and say quarterback issue, quarterback injury, quarterback injury, quarterback injury, quarterback injury, quarterback carousel, and those teams are all out of it. Right? So the NFC West is insane, though. To stick with them for a second, Arizona's eliminated. They're 3-11. Everybody else has 10 wins or more, which is crazy. Because you look at the NFC South, nobody's better than 7-7 right now at the time of us speaking. You look at the NFC East, nobody has double-digit wins. You look at the AFC North, nobody has double-digit wins. But you look at the NFC West, the Rams are 11-3, the Seahawks are 11-3, the Niners are 10-4. The Niners are the enigma because the Niners lost their starting quarterback and their backup played well. But that just goes to show you how important it is to have the right backup, and Mac Jones was the right guy for San Francisco. He helped them along, and Brock Purdy working together, they're 10-4. You look at that record, you wouldn't think that there was a quarterback injury at some point this season, but there was. The teams and the Rams are the only team in that division that have clinched a playoff spot, but they have not clinched the division yet as they have the same record as the Seattle Seahawks. When you look at the NFC South, which is typically one of the, if not the worst division in the NFL when it comes to wins, right? Teams getting to 8 or 9 wins, and that's the team that wins the division. Well, Tampa right now, with a few weeks to go, they're 7-7. Carolina's 7-7. They're both alive in this playoff hunt. Atlanta is not. New Orleans is not. But look at Carolina. Carolina changing coaches and quarterbacks like their underwear, but Bryce Young has been playing better. The team's been playing better. 7 wins has been huge for them. If you look at the Carolina Panthers over these last few seasons and what they've been able to do, I mean, keep in mind that this was a team that if they had not traded away their number 1 pick to Chicago, they would have had the number 1 pick 2 years in a row because they were bad. They were the worst team in the NFL, 2 years standing. So you look at last season to this season, they had 7 wins, the last 2 seasons before this season, they had 7 cumulative wins between 2023-24 and 24-25. So they've already matched their win total from 2 years in this one season in 2025-26. You look at what they've been. They since 2018, 7-9, 5-11, 5-11, 5-12, 7-10, 2-15, 5-12, and now they're 7-7. They're on pace of having their best season that they've had since 2017, where they were 11-5. So the Carolina Panthers are definitely trending upward, and I hope they make the playoffs because of this incredible story. In the NFC North, there's 3 out of 4 teams still alive. Who would have thought that Detroit would be at the bottom of this list? But Detroit is. They're 8-6. Above them, the Packers, who are 9-4-1, that tie with the Cowboys in Arlington at Cowboys Stadium, AT&T Stadium. Chicago's 10-4. What did I tell you about Chicago? I said Caleb Williams will have the opposite of a sophomore slump. They're 10-4 and they lead that division right now. Philadelphia and Dallas are fighting for the number 1 spot in the NFC East. Feels like a rap song. Philly's 9-5. Dallas is 6-7-1. But Dallas, with a losing record, is still alive in this hunt. And then as far as the AFC West goes, we know that Denver's already in the playoffs at 12-2. They lead the AFC right now. The Chargers are 10-4, and they're right there with them. In the AFC South, there's 3 teams alive. Houston woke up. They're 9-5. Indianapolis, Phillip Rivers almost pulled off a victory in Seattle in his 40s, coming out of retirement from not playing football in 5 years, and he got them within a field goal shot of winning that game. So God bless Phillip Rivers and the team, and my buddy Riley Leonard, who's on the squad. Jaguars lead the division, 10-4. Houston, 9-5. Indianapolis, 8-6. In the AFC North, it's Pitt and Baltimore. Pittsburgh is only above Baltimore because they played one less game. They're 7-6. Now they play tonight against Miami. So we'll see. Are they 7-7 or are they 8-6? Because Baltimore's chomping at their heels at 7-7. Baltimore's not out of this thing, even though they've had a very difficult season when it comes to record. And then in the AFC East, who would have thought New England? What did I tell you about New England? Going into this season, I said Drake May. I think Drake May is going to have a better season. Listen, Mike Vrabel should have been the coach. After Bill Belichick, it should have been Vrabel. I predicted it. I stated that. I should say that was the move that I said they should make. I can't say I predicted it. I said this is where I think they should go. And I put up a picture of Mike Vrabel and had the Patriots logo on his chest. And somebody found it this past offseason and reposted it. That I had last season, said before last season, this is the move to make. And then they made it a year later. And it's no disrespect to Gerard Mayo. I just thought Vrabel should be the coach. I don't know why Tennessee fired him. That has obviously been a big blunder in their history. And, you know, getting rid of guys like Jeff Fisher, well, he's not doing well. He brought you to the Super Bowl. You know, I mean, I think Jeff Fisher could have found his way back. And Mike Vrabel was doing a great job with Tennessee. So that's a very bad decision. But he goes to New England. And so I said Caleb Williams would have the opposite of a sophomore slump. And then I said, I also think Drake May is going to have a pretty good season. I also think that he was going to do well in his second season. Now, look at where New England is. They're right behind Denver at 11-3. Buffalo's 10-4. Thank goodness for them that they beat the Patriots. So now they split with the Patriots, because if they didn't, they might find themselves out of the playoffs potentially. But Buffalo is 10-4. And then Miami is still alive at 6-7, believe it or not, with the Jets being the only team out. So this has been a really, really interesting season because you're not getting your usual suspects, right? New England's trended back up. I told you Pitt was going to make the playoffs in Aaron Rodgers' first season with the Steelers. Right now, if they keep winning, they're going to do that. They're leading the AFC North. Jacksonville's done great with Liam Cohen and the crew. Denver, I told you I believed in Bobo Nix, and so did Papa Joe. PJ before me, and me. You know, he talked to me about Bo Nix when Bo Nix was in college, and then he kept talking him up here on the show. You know, Papa Joe's here on Thursdays. Kept talking him up when he was at Oregon. Then we both predicted that he would go, I believe it was 13th overall in the draft to Denver. Then before the preseason even started anything, I said Bo Nix would have the second best season for rookie quarterbacks in 2024. I said it would be Jaden Daniels and then Bo Nix. And Bo Nix absolutely did. Jaden Daniels made it to the playoffs. Bo Nix made it to the playoffs. So Bo Nix doing his thing. I love seeing Denver. Who would have thought they'd be number 1 in the AFC? I thought they'd make the postseason potentially, but I know they'd be number one. And the Chargers have done a great job. And Oronde Gadsden II, I said it was a perfect place for him to go coming out of Syracuse, to be a tight end in the NFL and go to a team that's been looking for a key tight end, which they haven't had in years. They had Hunter Henry. They had Antonio Gates. They haven't had anybody consistently since then. Now they have him. I said it was a great position for him to go into because he had the open door policy, right? If he did his job, he's got the opportunity to become the guy, and that's what he's done. So I credit him with that. Philly, we've come to expect Philly is going to be here, but like I said, Dallas isn't out of it yet. Javonte Williams has had new life leaving Denver, which is kind of interesting how good Denver's done without him, but how good he looks in Dallas, better than he looked in Denver after covering him with the North Carolina Tar Heels. And then we look at Green Bay. I already spoke about Chicago. We look at Green Bay. They don't have Micah Parsons, but they're very much in the hunt right now. And Detroit, man, 8-6, just a little bit above 500. Who would have thought they would be there? I did not think they were going to be there. So as it stands right now, if the playoffs were to begin today, the top 7 teams go. And only the first seed gets a bye. Remember how it used to be the first 2? It's not anymore. It's only the first seed. So it would be Denver, New England, Jacksonville, Pitt are the top 4. They'd all be at home. And obviously Denver would be sitting out for the wild card round. Then it's the Chargers, the Bills, the Texans. The Colts are just outside at 8. The Ravens are 9. The Dolphins are 10. Everybody else is eliminated. So there's only 3 teams that are still in the hunt on this side, and the same on the other side. The top 10. So the Rams would be sitting out the wild card round as the number 1 seed. And then after the Rams, we would be looking at the Chicago Bears as the 2 seed, then the Eagles, then the Bucks, who would all be playing at home. Then we have Seattle, San Francisco. Green Bay would be in right now with Detroit just outside. And behind Detroit, Carolina. And behind Carolina, Dallas. And who did Carolina beat head-to-head? Dallas. So that's something to talk about, as Rico Dowdle saw his old team and got that victory. So the NFL is going to be very, very interesting as we come down the stretch here, finish off Week 15 and step into Week 16. And I'm excited to continue to bring that coverage to you. I know that being on vacation with my dad this past week, we obviously had a bunch of specials ready to go for you, and you got to see all of those. But now we'll get back into our NFL coverage Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll bring you through fantasy football content, which also bonds to reality, and we'll talk about the playoff hunt and everything going on with that. And with that being said, I'm very honored and privileged to have my next guest on the show. He's no stranger to the broadcast, one of my favorite people that I've met in my world of chasing my dreams, and I cannot thank him enough for the time that he spends. He's a good friend, he's a good man, he's a hard worker, and he brings a lot to the table. So I have nothing but good things to say about the one and only Steve Addazio, who is here with me on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports meets life. Mr. Addazio, how we doing this morning?
Dan, great to be with you. How's everything going?
Everything's going well. Outside of the fact that, I don't know what it is. People say when you get older, you get aches and pains and whatnot, but my back's been bugging me a little bit, Steve. So I don't know what's going on with that, but I wish it would stop, is what I'll say.
Well, you gotta do a little bit of core strengthening, a little flexibility.
Yeah, I definitely do. Maybe I have to take one of your regimens. Maybe you got some boot camp stuff you used to have BC do or something like that. So
I got to bring it back, so I know what that's like. It's no fun.
Yeah, well, Steve Addazio here with us. We got a lot to discuss here. A lot of things going on in the world of college football. So here with the college football analyst for ESPN and a longtime collegiate football coach, speaking on bowl season and the college football playoff. Steve, let's start with the Notre Dame decision that was made very, very public and the Notre Dame situation. You and I spoke about Notre Dame going into the college football playoff committee, making their final rankings. We talked about the fact that head-to-head matters, and they had the same record as Miami. They played Miami. They lost to Miami. Doesn't matter by how many points. Doesn't matter when it happened. And after the fact, they told the world, don't call us. We're not doing anything in the postseason. We're not playing in a bowl game. And it definitely sat in the spotlight for a while. And on top of that, we see that the brass at Notre Dame went against the ACC, went against the commissioner, Jim Phillips, and said that there's been permanent damage done to their relationship because the ACC promoted Miami, who's in their conference in football, and didn't promote Notre Dame, who refuses to play in a conference. So I'd love to get your thoughts, because I know you have a connection to Notre Dame, but this was like the committee made their decision, Notre Dame reacted. It was it felt like an emotional reaction. Not a deep breath was taken. You know how they always tell you to take a step back, and it just went and it went and it went. They said, we're not going to a bowl game. We're mad at the ACC. I'd love to get your thoughts on how everything unfolded there for Notre Dame.
Sure. Well, I think you and I talked about this a little bit way back when, but first off, I think I was surprised when Notre Dame was ranked as high as they were when the initial bowl playoff rankings came out. And I didn't understand that then. That was my opinion, and I'm a Notre Dame fan, but I did not understand that. And I said, wow, I mean, they don't play that strong a schedule down the finish, so now, for all intents and purposes, they're going to hang right there. I don't know if that's right. Okay. Yeah. So that happened. Then we all know the rest of the story. Miami jumped them, which was equally bizarre. Now, do I think Miami should have been ahead of them head-to-head? Yes, I do. But then they jump them. I thought that was strange. Then I go down the path of, okay, should Notre Dame be in? And I think, yeah, I think they should be in. I think if you're trying to get the best teams in college football, they certainly deserve that conversation. Am I a fan of 2 Group of 5 schools going in? No. I mean, I think I've always felt like, what is the criteria? It's a moving target for me, and that's what I struggle with. Is it the best teams in college football? Is it the schedule? Is it who you play? People say, well, it's a little bit of everything. Well, listen, all due respect to the Group of 5, I've been a Group of 5 head coach. I mean, I know what that's like. But you can't sit here and say a team that plays, no ranked teams or minimal Power 4 teams. I mean, schedule matters. That matters. Head-to-head competition matters. I just think that the ACC with their tiebreaker system did nobody any favors. I think the conference who plays those conference championship games should be decided by a different criteria, so that this doesn't happen. I'm sure those rules will get rewritten. Now, lastly, you asked me about Notre Dame relative with the ACC. First of all, I thought it had a really bad look. Notre Dame took their ball and went home. Okay, I get it. They felt wrong. And I understand that. There's reason to understand that.
Yeah.
I am very, very disappointed that they just decided to pull out of everything. And then equally disappointed that they went after the commissioner of the ACC, Jim Phillips, a heck of a guy. Because, I was a head coach in those meetings. And, listen, Notre Dame wants everything they want, right? They want the affiliations for other sports. They want this, they want that. Well, they're not in the conference as a football member. And Jim Phillips does have an obligation to promote the teams that are football members for a football playoff. And he wasn't disrespecting Notre Dame. He's just trying to promote. I mean, if he didn't promote Miami, then he would have had another set of problems. I mean, so I feel bad for him. I think that's another bad look for Notre Dame. And if Notre Dame, they can go into a conference if they want to. I know they don't want to, and I understand that too. But okay, well, with that comes these types of situations. So, the whole thing's got a bad look. But Dan, I got to tell you, I'm not a proponent of all these playoff games. I'm not a proponent of expanding it. I think it's too big already. I really love bowl games. I love conference championship games. I'd be just as happy if there was like a 4-team playoff in a national championship. Because I just think as you move beyond the top 4 teams, you could argue and say 6, but I'd say 4. It just gets so watered down anyways. And kids don't want to play in bowl games. Teams don't want to play in conference championship games. Yeah. All this is a byproduct. And I know money is at the root of a lot of things, but I don't like a lot of things that are going on in our sport right now. I don't. I think we're ruining college football right now. People say, "Wow, what are we ruining? It's never been more popular." Well, like anything else, until it's not. And I just think right now that this is just another set of people making bad decisions for the wrong reasons. So that's my soapbox.
No, and I appreciate it. You opened the door to a lot of different pieces of this. I mean, you were a part of the ACC as the head coach of Boston College for many years. When you're sitting in those meetings, were there conversations about Notre Dame? Was there ever a conversation of sitting down with the commissioner and as you're all, because the thing is nobody gets to sit in that room, right? Except for the coaches, except for the ADs, except for the presidents and or chancellors. So when you were sitting having a meeting, and here you are with all the figureheads of ACC college football, what were those meetings like? Was Notre Dame ever brought up, and what was said? Because there was the note that they brought in Jim Phillips after John Swofford because he had a connection. So they're like, well, maybe he can bring them in. Maybe he can finally jump this wall that we've been trying to jump, that the Big East couldn't jump and that the ACC couldn't jump up to this point. So sitting in that room, was there ever a Notre Dame conversation amongst the coaches and the commissioner?
Yeah, sure. I mean, there was a lot of conversation there. There was frustration at times. There's also understanding. I mean, we're all, grown-ups there. I mean, we understand the ramifications and the power of bringing Notre Dame to an affiliation, let's call it, with the ACC. I mean, I guess in other sports it's a member, but there are great things. But I can remember being in there, we were concerned that all of a sudden Notre Dame would take, based on how the year finished, a bowl spot from an ACC team.
Yeah.
And that was very, very frustrating. And, yet on the flip side of it, they had to schedule games in the ACC. And of course, everything it did for the conference as a whole there was a lot of positives from a financial standpoint. So, money drives everything. But was there frustration amongst the football end of things? Yeah. I mean, sure. Like anything else, a lot of coaches felt like, hey, they're in or they're out, and if people were honest, they'd admit that. I kind of understood it. I understood the rationale behind it. But, I don't know. I mean, I think, like everything else, we all make decisions, and there's consequences of those decisions, both for the ACC and for Notre Dame. But it's hard to have your cake and eat it too, and it's good to be king, I guess, and you can get that done. But, I absolutely think Jim Phillips needed to stand up for Miami in this situation or any other ACC team. I believe that's his job, and I believe that he's doing the right thing. I don't think he disparaged Notre Dame in any way, shape, or form, nor would he ever do that. But I just think he had a job to do. I mean, he's the commissioner of and in football, of which Notre Dame is not a member of that conference. So it was not about talking negative about them. It's about talking positive about Miami. And I'm 100% for that. I think that if he didn't do that, he'd probably have a lot of upset football coaches too. I mean, because those are just the facts. And I don't know. So that's what I have to say about that. I mean, it just bothers me, But I love the ACC. I love Notre Dame, and always will. I'm a big fan. Like I said, I coach there. And big part of me there. I love that place for a whole lot of reasons, but I just don't agree. It's okay not to agree. I don't agree in this situation, but everybody's got to make their decisions and live with it.
Yeah. And you speak about making a decision. The Big East had Notre Dame for every sport except for football. Then the ACC got Notre Dame for every sport except for football. Now, the ACC schedules Notre Dame with them having, around 6 games, which is just 2 less from being a conference team, where they play 8. So they're almost playing a full ACC schedule. Like you said, they can take an ACC potential bowl spot, and it's living in this world where Notre Dame gets 100% of their revenue, a few years back, Steve, we had 7 independent, 9 independent schools. Now there's only 2. There's UConn and there's Notre Dame. UConn became an independent because in my opinion, and from what I know, the school is so focused on basketball and getting back to the Big East that they didn't really care what happened to football. Where Notre Dame's in a different situation. They've chosen to be independent. It works for them. But are we living in a world where we can sustain this, where we can sustain Notre Dame on an island and everybody else being scrutinized for their conference schedule, if they play in a conference championship, if they play and they win, if they play and they lose, if they don't play in a conference championship? Because we talk about strength of conference and we talk about these matchups and, scheduling and all of this stuff, but Notre Dame gets to make their own schedule. Notre Dame is in a place where they're almost a member of the ACC, but they're not. So I've said it before, if we wanted to even the playing field and force Notre Dame into a conference, the CFP could just say you can't qualify unless you're in a conference. But when we talk about the Sun Belt or the American or the MAC or the Mountain West and so on and so forth, they always say, what is the strength of your conference? But Notre Dame doesn't have one. Notre Dame will never lose a conference championship game. They'll never play in a conference championship game. So all of these criteria spots that we hold everybody else to the fire to, Notre Dame doesn't have. Can we sustain that? Or will we continue to see what looks to be a special set of rules? Even ESPN had it on the ticker, right? That next year, if Notre Dame does this, and Notre Dame's kind of set up to make the postseason potentially. And it was almost like a knee-jerk reaction by the college football playoff to say, oh, well, you didn't make it this year, but next year you would have. It feels like there's rules that are being set up or being kind of circumnavigated to protect Notre Dame. But can we sustain that in college football? Is Notre Dame that important enough to college football, in your opinion, that they can be over here on an island and everybody else has to go through all these things that Notre Dame doesn't? And can they always essentially have a path to the playoff with everybody else having to do the same thing that Notre Dame doesn't have to do?
Yeah, I mean, well, first of all, I do think it's when Notre Dame is good and and they're alive in college football, that I think it's good for college football. So I get that. But I also think that as this landscape changes, no, I think they need to be in a conference. And I think there needs to be a set of criteria that they have to stick to. So I'm saying it's for the last couple of years, it's really bothered me. It's like a moving target. And this is why people get upset, and I don't, I'm a big believer that there has to be, rules and you got to abide by them. And so I think as this thing moves forward, I don't think that's fair. Now, having said that, they may start to increase the playoffs and get rid of conference championship games. And I guess that's another school of thought here, that's going to happen. I'm not a proponent of that, but that looks like that will happen. A lot of people I've heard speak up on broadcasts that, they think there shouldn't be conference championship games, and they're, so therefore there'd be like, it also would impact rivalry games, honestly. But I'm not in favor of this. I look at, like, nobody even cares about bowl games anymore. Like, all they care about is just like these, playoff games. Like, I don't love this. I really don't. And I don't love the fact that players won't even play in these bowl games. I'm like, what are we doing? Like, I don't understand. Like, I really don't. Like, I don't know where we're headed. I think I do know where we're headed. Yeah. And I don't like it. So, ultimately they're going to keep adding, I think, playoff teams. And I think ultimately they're going to be forced into getting rid of conference championship games. And then will come the next conversation about scheduling. And how do you schedule them? Traditional rivalries that are really tough games may end up going by the wayside because all this money is all going to be centered around making a play. So you hear people say, like, well, we don't care about the conference championship game. We care about the playoffs. Like, wow. I can remember at Florida, going to the SEC championship game, that was everything. And that was such a huge deal. And to think that that wouldn't become that relevant anymore. I don't understand that. I think there's something wrong with that. I think, like I said, bowl games were exciting and it's something you fought. I mean, we got to get, it was like win the opener, get bowl eligible so you could go to a bowl game, win a conference championship, right? Win the national champ. I mean, there was a pecking order of how you set your goals for your program.
Yeah.
I guess, what's the new goal going to be? Just like, get to the playoffs.
Yeah.
That's going to be like the new goal now, and I don't know that I'm for that.
Well, and you hit on a bunch of different points here. So my question to you is this. When they sit down, the College Football Playoff Committee, and they make a decision on what they want to do for the future for 2026 to 2031, if they want to expand, conference championships, we know right now there's 9 FBS conferences. There's technically 10 because the Pac-12 exists. It has 2 teams. They're going to steal most of the Mountain West. And that's going to leave us with the SEC, the ACC, the Big Ten, and the Big 12, which are the autonomy conferences. And then from there, so that's your 4. Then you have the Pac-12 as your 5th, well, not in any order. And then you have the Mountain West, you have Conference USA, you have the American, you have the Sun Belt, and the MAC, if I didn't say the MAC. So you have your 10 conference champions. If you expand it, and like you said, you like conference championships, if you expand the playoff, does every conference champion, should they all get in? Should we have a model that makes championships make sense? You're saying no. So are we just going to do away with conference championships? But then at that point, outside of the autonomy conferences, what does anybody have to play for when it comes to the American or the MAC or so on and so forth?
Yeah, I say no, but I agree. I don't think how can anybody think it's fair? Listen, I hope I don't slight anybody because I've been in all these conferences and coached in them. I was a head coach in the MAC. Like, you're going to say now a MAC champion should take one of those spots because they won the MAC championship, but their schedule didn't even come close to matching up to, say, whatever, Florida. I mean, I know I don't. That's what we have right now. We have a situation where, 2 Group of 5 schools are in the playoffs that probably shouldn't be in the playoffs. That's hard for me to say that, but I mean, that's just keeping it real. And so, I don't have all the answers here, and that's why I don't like going deeper down into these paths. I mean, if you just kept it the way it was, everybody was, all right, I don't know, you had to stay at 4-team playoff. I mean, everybody could figure out the top 4 teams in America pretty quickly. And if you had disagreement, it was over who was 5th or something. You say, well, it never ends. Well, it gets more watered down if you say who's 18 or who's, I mean, it's like, I don't know. I mean, this is my issue. I think when you had it where it was, you had conference championships, you had great records, you had great bowl games, people who get into bowl games mattered. And then we stumbled into the small playoff deal, which I thought, okay, that extends it a little bit, maybe helps a little clarity, but no, we got to have more, we got to have more, we got to have more. And, and okay. And here we go down this path. But your question, so an undefeated MAC team would be in, but a 2-loss SEC team is not? So are we then getting the best teams in college football, or are we just trying to have what somebody seems is sort of let's be very equitable here? I mean, I don't know which one it is. I thought it was strength of schedule. I thought it was best in an effort to get the best teams. And then on top of all this, the next conversation is, I've had this before. Who's on the committee? When you start trying to talk about figuring out who are the best football teams, well, then you should have whoever the most football experts are. And they're not media people. Yeah. I mean, I'm one of them now, right? I'm a media person, but what are we talking about here? Like, when you talk about the best teams, you've got to have the skill set. I mean, you've been a Division I college football coach. Your job is about evaluating football teams, players, programs. I mean, that's your expertise. no offense to media people, but like they can read stats and they have a viewpoint, but in terms of really assessing who the better football team is, like watching tape and understanding that schematically and personnel, that's really hard to do. I know everybody thinks it's not, but it is. So, what is that committee comprised of? And you're making decisions on who the best football teams are. How do you really know that? I listen to a lot of nonsense right now, and I don't say anything, but I listen to all these great opinions on who should be a next head football coach here, or what program is better than. And I'm like, you don't really know that. Like, what's your experience with that? Like, being a fan, okay, that's great. Opinions are great. There's nothing wrong with having an opinion. But when you're making big decisions, like if I had like a real medical situation, I'm going to an expert that does that on a daily basis. I'm not going to a general practitioner. I'm going to a specialist. So I think some of that has to really be looked at. If we're going to start saying that those people are responsible of dictating who the very best teams are, like, really? Like, when they watch tape, they really know what they're really looking at, like, from that standpoint? I don't know. That might not be popular to say what I just said, but I'm saying it because I really believe it.
Well, like you said, who's in that room? 12 people, 13 people who are making these decisions. What are their allegiances, right? We look at, okay, this person's the chair of the College Football Playoff Committee, and they're an AD at this school in this conference that always seems to have the best spots. So, there's questions that come down to that. These are human beings. There are allegiances that are there. And, you brought it up. We look at this year, Tulane makes it from the American, and we also see James Madison make it from the Sun Belt because they take the 5 highest-ranked conference champions, and then the other 7 are at large. So that leaves out a Notre Dame, it leaves out a Texas, it leaves out a BYU, it leaves out a Vanderbilt. I'm going to sit here and I'll argue till the cows come home. I think Texas has a case over Notre Dame. I think Texas has a case over BYU. Yes, they have 3 losses, but they also beat 3 top 12 teams. And who else did that in the country? You look at Alabama and their successes and maybe Oklahoma, but Texas beat Oklahoma. So, I'm more adamant that Texas should be in right now than probably anybody, but I also like the equitable side of it because I didn't think I'd live to see 2 teams outside of the autonomy group get into this playoff. So how do we fix this, Steve?
How's that equitable?
What'd you say?
I'm saying, how's that equitable? They didn't play the same schedule. They didn't play the same people. They didn't have the same, the criteria wasn't the same. Listen, I love for those schools. I'm not into like excluding and all that, but what are we talking about here? There should be there is a price to pay for who you play, and otherwise people wouldn't play anybody. And so, but this is all to me another byproduct of having too many teams. Like, I don't think any of these teams should be in. How's that? I don't think they deserve to be in because I don't think we should be down this path. I think we're just talking about picking a national championship, and it's not a team with 3-4 losses in it. So and this is a byproduct. These conversations now become a byproduct of too many teams. And this is what happens, and that's why I'm not really sold on that. I saw this in high school football, believe it or not. When I was coaching high school football, they had 1 state championship, and it was really hard to get there. And we were fortunate, we went to it, like 4 times. And I laugh. Now it's like every single class has a championship. Yeah. Like S, M, double M, L. I don't even know what they all are anymore. Everybody's in now. Okay. That was, it just reduces it all down. So now we're having a conversation. I don't disagree with what you said based on how things are right now regarding Vanderbilt, Texas, or Notre Dame. But we're having that conversation because we're getting too watered down. And I know there was conversations before, but again, do you think we'd have a big argument on who the top 4 teams in the country are that would be playing each other in a playoff game? Probably not. Really? There's always going to be some, but it wouldn't be like you think those teams didn't belong, you know? So anyways, this goes on, you know, and makes for good talk. And, you know, I just, I'm getting a little fed up with the whole thing right now. Just a little bit. I mean, all of it, you know, portals and NILs and, you know, what happened to student athletes? What happened to APRs? What happened to it being a privilege, not a right to play college football? What happened to amateurism? What happened to feeling like tremendous pride in your institution because you invested 4 years into that school and it meant the world and you had your degree from it and you bled whatever, orange or whatever your school colors were, and you talk to people today that are, in their 30s and 40s and 50s and 60s, and the best days of my life were in college, and my experience and the friends that I made and what we sacrificed together. And now we have teams that are new teams every year, and players, they come and they go, and no one talks about education anymore. Nobody. You don't even hear that anymore. Half these schools, the players go to online classes. They don't even go to class, and it's just become some sort of weird professional football. And we already have professional football, and it has all the guide rails that you need and all the things that try to make it equitable. But we have this new thing now that I'm not sure what it is, that's off the rails on every front, no matter what you want to talk about. And it needs to get fixed, because I don't see this as being sustainable, and maybe I'm wrong, but it doesn't feel that way to me right now. It feels like there needs to be some guide rails, and I just really wish that the talk was more about going to school and getting your degree and growing as a man, or women's sports as a young woman. I mean, something about this bothers me immensely. Are we going to have a bunch of people that come out of school with no degrees now? And we're now paying 17, 18-year-olds millions of dollars, and I don't know. I don't get it. I just don't get it.
Well, and Steve Addazio here with us on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora inside the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, longtime collegiate coach and a college football analyst currently for ESPN, and doing a lot of work with the ACC network as well. I mean, you bring up multiple great points, and it's everything that I've talked about, written about. And I mean, a few years ago, I wrote an NCAA article, and I ended the article with, if you don't put a fence around the horses, then you're going to be chasing them every single night, trying to get them back to the barn. And that's where we're at. And you just spoke about it, so I'm going to kind of layer this thing. Name, image, and likeness. What issues do we run into? Issues that I told players about that they weren't even thinking about. I said, okay, so you're a wide receiver. So you get 10 grand, okay, from this one, or let's say you get 100 grand from this dealership, and another wide receiver gets 100 grand, and you both have incentives. And if you get 10 catches a game, then you're going to get this boost, or he's going to get that boost. So now in the huddle, you're telling your quarterback, throw it to me because I want the boost. Now throw it to me because I want the boost. And then you try to kick back. One of the guys goes, well, if you throw it to me, I'll give you 10%. Well, if you throw it to me, I'll give you 15%. So I'm talking to a kid about this. He goes, I didn't even think about that locker room stuff. I said, yeah, man. What if a law office backs the wrong quarterback? He ends up being the backup. They don't want to give money to the backup and have commercials with the backup. So, Steve, we look at NIL, we look at what that's doing, and what's it creating now? As some of this stuff is unfolding of, well, I gave NIL money to a guy that's now in the transfer portal. I want my money back from that guy. So there's these issues, because even NIL money isn't keeping somebody from transferring. Then we have the issue of the portal itself, and like you said, not getting a degree, because how can you? Whenever you transfer, 99.9% of the time, your credits don't transfer with you. So if you have 30 credits, now you might have 18. If you had 70 credits, you might have 45 now. So there's the portal, there's NIL, but then there's another thing. There's coaches that are being talked to, that are essentially in the portal themselves, being talked to before the season ends. So now we have Tulane with John Summerall, but he's the Florida coach, but he's not yet, but he is. Then you have the situation with James Madison where Bob Chesney's the coach of James Madison, but he's the coach of UCLA. So he's on it, got to get on a Zoom call to keep the recruits at UCLA and bring them in. But you got to keep guys at James Madison, but you got to keep guys engaged at James Madison because you're making history there. But then you got to go across the country. So I'm going to add another layer to everything that you're upset about. And I'm going to say to you, Steve, should it not be tampering when we're talking to coaches during the season? Should it not be considered taboo and wrong and punishable by money or scholarship or whatever? That these coaches are essentially, John Summerall was promoting Tulane in the American Championship on a Zoom call, and right after he got off the Zoom call, he was at Florida at the time, and he got off the Zoom call, walked into another room, and was introduced as their head coach. So what are we doing with the calendar of college football is essentially what I'm asking you.
Yeah, I mean, it needs to be fixed. The NFL has rules. Coaches aren't allowed to interview for jobs until certain points of the end of the season or at the very end of the season. I mean, I think it's disgusting that a team goes down all the way down into the playoffs, and then then all of a sudden the coach just leaves, and I don't like any of it. I mean, it's where we are, and I don't like it. I think there needs to be. That's why I really believe there needs to be a commissioner of college football. I believe there needs to be a separation in football. I think ultimately we're going to get there. Mm-hmm. There's going to be in whatever that highest level is going to be. It's not really college football anymore in my mind, but I think there needs to be some common sense rules put in place now to try to do some, what I used the word earlier, guide rails, because it's not fair for players. It's not fair for coaches. That's why, again, this is why I'm a little disgusted right now with college football, the thing that I made my whole life career on, that I love so passionately. I just think it's off the rails right now. And I don't want to sound like the older guy that, oh yeah, everything's all messed up now. But right now things are not good. And I'm not saying they won't be good again. I'm just saying they need to be fixed. I'm saying that, like anything else, there's been an immense amount of change, some of it good, some of it not good. And it needs to be rethought. And other problems I have is sometimes in the past, is people that rethink them. Who are they? Where's that coming from? I mean, who's that group of people? Kind of like the group of people that are deciding the playoffs. I mean, I remember as the head coach, we talk about different rule changes and different things, and they'd say, well, this committee, and next thing you knew, it was done, and you had no say. And then it was handled, and some of the decisions were made by people that don't even walk in your shoes. They might be, non-Division I football or whatever, and you're sitting here, it's like, what? I mean, it's like we're down these paths right now. Someone's got to, grab the tiger by the tail, so to speak, and have some common sense. And no, these coaches, with the current system, this is not right. In my opinion, it's not right. So they need to put some rules in place, and then of course that'll have an effect on the portal, right? And all the windows and all the dates and everything will get affected. Sure, it will. That's why this thing's got to be in this new world we're in. The whole thing's got to be rethought, and I just think that's where we're at. And I think that'll all happen. I really believe that in my heart. But what's that process going to be to get there? I don't know. How long will it take? I don't know. Yeah. But something needs to be done, because right now, walks like a duck, it's a duck. I mean, this thing right now is just kind of off the rails. And, and then, but then you can go down a whole nother subject, and, I'm not here to make coaches enemies. I'm not here to say the players. I mean, I've always felt like the players should have had some form of compensation. I'm not against that, but I don't, there's like anything else, there's limits. And, I'm not a big proponent of what's going on with coaches, and I was one of them. I mean, I got into this thing because I just wanted to be a teacher and a coach, and I wanted to be a part of making a difference in kids' lives. That's how I got into it. When I got into the business, there was no money.
Yeah.
That wasn't a part of this thing. And to tell you the truth right now, I mean, to me, coaching's for the love of it. It's, but that we got a whole new set of people getting into that profession for not the same reasons anymore. So, money corrupts everything. It really does, and it always has, right? So you got to put some guidelines and some, guardrails and things in place. Otherwise, it just gets kooky.
Well, let's talk about a few guardrails. So I'll ask you two different sets, one having to do with players, one having to do with coaches. So on the player side of things, should there be one portal opening, not two? When should it be is the first question. And the second one for you is, when should schools be able to interview a coach who's currently at another place?
Well, the first thing is, I think there should be one portal window, and I'm actually a believer. I think that you should have to put 2 years into a school before you have the opportunity to potentially transfer. I think too many, over the years, guys have, it's hard to go somewhere initially, and all the factors that come to you. You want to quit, you want to leave, and that's not what we're trying to teach and build. That you got to stick to it a little bit. So I think at a minimum, I think you should have to put 2 years into wherever you go. That'd be. Let's start there for me. But in the portal world, certainly 2 portal windows is ridiculous. Now, when is the 1 portal window? I mean, I'm not really in it right now, so I haven't spent a lot of time processing that. Just a little bit of time, but obviously, I think that would have to change, because to your next question, I would say that the season's got to be over before there's any hiring, which I hope would also stop coaches from being fired like 2 and 3 games into seasons. I don't think that's healthy. I never follow that logic either. We got to get ready to go find our next coach. Oh, that's all nonsense. I mean, and then they wait till the season's over anyways, and then they scramble and they try to find them. I mean, it's all nonsense. I mean, forever and a day, people had a ready list, and then they go down that ready list. I don't think people should get fired till the end of the season, and then I don't think coaches should be able to be hired until their season is complete, which would then affect, obviously, the portal, which I get. So that's got to really be thought out all the way. And what does that mean relative to semesters? I don't know. I think you got to think this through. My sense would, my knee-jerk reaction, if you changed all of that, you'd probably have to have a later portal window, which would have to correspond with the school calendars, which would probably push it back into the spring. I'd have to go back and take a look at the numbers of teams in the playoffs and really try to get it. I mean, as it is right now, you realize how crazy this is. That portal window is like what, the 5th to the 15th of January or something. And then all of a sudden you're trying to get a young man or a young lady into school based on when the spring semester starts for that school. What a craziness. But they're going to visit potentially after school has already started for the spring semester. But then again, let's stop masquerading that this has got anything to do with school, right? Because it really doesn't. That's my other point, right?
Yeah.
So that's equally disturbing to me. I think if you changed all of that, maybe you would then be forced to push but I hate to this is part of the problem. I hate making knee-jerk statements that I haven't thought enough about. This has got to really be gone through, and you got to hear all the unintended consequences. You got to hear it all, the pros, the cons, and then you got to make decisions. But who are making those decisions? Who is that? Isn't that a fundamental question? I don't know who the who is. Never did, and I was in it.
Yeah. Well, let me ask you this: if we had a commissioner of college football,
yeah,
would Nick Saban make sense?
I mean, that's what everybody talks about. I mean, I've got no axe to grind one way or the other. I think, like anything else, I think you get together all the subjects that you think you need to, what does this look like? And then you get a number of people and you interview and you go through a process, and I think that's, he's certainly a name. I don't know why all of a sudden he got anointed that role, but certainly, a legend, a GOAT, no question about it, right? I think there's several people that, you could interview for that position. But I think that criteria, I think it helps that you have somebody that's been in.
Oh, we lost your audio here for a second, Steve. Can you hear us? We lost your audio. See if we can get it back.
Got you there.
Okay.
You hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Something's making my Zoom go in and out here.
There you go. Go ahead. So you were talking about you didn't know why he was anointed, but he's certainly a name. Oh, we lost his audio again. Now, let's see if we can. There we go. Can you hear us? No, we lost Steve here for a second. Could see you on video. We can't hear Steve.
Well, that'd be a mighty big deal, right?
There you go. So, okay, so we lost you there for a second. So go ahead with what you were saying about Nick Saban is a name, but not necessarily the only name.
Yeah, I'm just saying he's a great name, but there's other great names out there. I mean, everybody gets. Did I lose you again?
No, I got you.
I mean, I think there's a lot of people. I think you have a process. I think you go through a process, and you got to figure that out.
Yeah, and I mean, I would look to say even more so than just having a commissioner, to having a committee, and the commissioner having a sounding board, essentially like the president has a cabinet. I would look for the commissioner to have a committee. So let me ask you this, Steve. Does that committee include former coaches? Is this, I mean, I guess the question is, who is on the committee? Because you always said, who are making these decisions, like these fundamental decisions, who is actually in the room? So if you got to decide it, and we have a commissioner, is the commissioner a former coach? Committee for the commissioner, are they comprised of former coaches? Is there anybody in the media that's a part of this? And then I would say this to you. If there's an AD or anybody connected to schools, do they have to be retired? Can they still be tethered to a place? Because right now the College Football Playoff Committee has people that are tethered to a place, which means if you're tethered to a place, then you may have an affinity to that place. You may feel like you owe somebody something. So I guess the question is, who's on this committee? Former coaches and former ADs? Do they have to be former? Is there anybody in the media? How would you comprise that group that's making those decisions so that you make sure that you really have a full scope of what college football is?
I mean, I think obviously you got to have, a variety of people in there. I would think that former coaches would be important. Maybe there's got to be an administrator in there. Maybe there's got to be I would think an attorney of some nature would need to be in there, some sort of sports background attorney. You need a legal perspective. You need an administrative perspective. You might need a media perspective, but not like a bunch, just a guy. I'd say I'd err on more coaches than I would anything else, but I want some kind of balance in there. Like anything else. I mean, this is a committee that's, the decisions that you make affect a lot of pieces here, right? There's an academic calendar. There's just a lot of things that go into that. So, I mean, like we're going down a path right now that would require a lot of thought. But yeah, I don't know that I would have current sitting ADs. You never see current sitting coaches. That's hilarious, but you do see ADs. But I would think that, I would think people that were prominent in the game, that had vital roles in the game, you got to vet through the whole thing. You want some, like I said, you want some checks and balances in there. Yeah. All of one thing's never good, but in the same breath, I have more coaches than not in there because that's the epicenter of the sport. Yeah. It just is. And then you can figure out what other factors need to be in there. But that's going to be coming to a theater near you, and not that distant future would be my guess.
Yeah, and I guess the other part of it is, would you look at having, if there's a commissioner of college football and there's a committee, would you look at potentially having a former player or two that's been through the student-athlete process?
Yeah, maybe one. Yeah, I mean, you can't have a committee of 27 people, but sure. I was thinking about that. Yeah, you probably would, but again, if it's commissioner of football, everything's going to be football based. And I think you want varying perspectives, but you can't turn it into, circus. So I think you got to be pretty careful what you're doing, but you want some checks and balances for sure.
Yeah. And you and I have talked about the importance of a coach understanding the ins and outs because you're living it every day. Did you ever get to vote in the coaches poll nationally?
I did not.
What are your thoughts on the coaches poll? Because there's the AP, right, which is media, and there's the question of who gets in, how do they get in, are they watching all the games, do they have a connection to certain teams or certain conferences, but there's also the question of what coaches are in, and I've talked to a coach that got to vote before, but the validity of the AP poll or the coaches poll, because we know the college football playoff committee does not start voting until early November, and they vote in November to early December. So I guess the next question for you is, what are your thoughts on the AP and the coaches polls, and the fact that you never voted in a coaches poll? Did you feel like, were you sitting there kind of wondering like what coaches get to do this, or how? Because there's a lot of the question of, again, who's in the room, like you've been saying, who's in the room for the AP? How do you get in? Who's in the room for the coaches poll? Why do they get to decide?
I can't remember now, Dan. I probably had some opportunity to, maybe I did for a little bit. I don't even remember, to be honest with you. I always worried about the politicalness of some of these polls and having my name attached to it. What do I think about all these polls? I don't know. I don't know. Probably, I guess they're, I like polls at the end of the year. I don't like polls at the beginning of the year. It's like that's something that's always bothered me. And then again, I still think you go down to the whole thing of like, what are these based on?
Yeah.
And who are making these decisions, to me, is what goes into the validity of, it's like, I don't have much time left, so I'll be short here. It reminds me, even in high school, back in the day, when you'd vote on all conference teams, and you'd probably say, what are we talking about right now? But I can remember the politicalness of those things. Like, hey, you vote for my guy, I'll vote for your guy. And just like, I used to laugh to myself. We're all over like a meatball sandwich trying to figure out who the all conference, like, hey, let's not get in the way who are the best players, by the way. It's like, It's just like, I've been turned off forever about all of this stuff. It's like, what goes into all this, I'm a big believer in that, like I like criteria. I like things being done for what's real and politicalness out of it. And, because otherwise, as you can tell, probably part of my problem with not wanting to be involved with polls is because I just don't want to be involved with them, because, like I think something came through my email about, Coach of the Year awards and stuff like that. And it's just like I don't want to vote on something that I don't know all the facts about. You know what I mean? Like, I could just like paint a broad brush and say, oh, like, yeah, how about that guy? Well, that's a buddy of mine over here. And is that really what we're doing? I mean, so I think sometimes with all these things, there needs to be some criteria. There needs to be discussion. It needs to be vetted. It needs to be poked and probed and, and questioned. And so that when you have these things, no matter what we're talking about, right? Whether we're talking about conference selections, we're talking about polls, we're talking about playoffs, that you feel like when you have an answer, it's really been well thought out.
Yeah.
And because I've had many opinions in my life about things, but when I sit down with a group of guys that I respect or gals and you vet through things, you change your mind. And I think if you have an open mind, you're willing to change your mind based on criteria, based on hearing other points of views. So I just think these things are so subjective, and it bothers me. It really does. And which I'm gonna circle all the way back to our conversation, maybe I don't know how many weeks ago, when I thought Notre Dame was ranked higher than they should have been, and all the ramifications of that led to the discussions we were having earlier today. But like somehow, some way, they kind of ranked Notre Dame, I thought, much higher than they should have been at that point in time. And that led to controversy when really they shouldn't have been ranked there at that point to begin with, but somehow they were. How did that happen? So I don't know. I guess it keeps people on a Monday, conversations, which is kind of fun to do. But in either case, I've got to run. I got an appointment I have to be at.
Yeah.
But I certainly love being with you, Dan. I love these conversations. I love college football, and it's great, and it'll be greater. But we just have to. I think along with these change requires a few tweaks along the way here. We got to preserve the integrity of this game, and this beautiful sport that we have, and not let it run off the rails. And I think all these conversations are all important.
Yeah, well, Steve Addazio, I appreciate your friendship more than anything else. Steve and I will sit on your committee. We'll give you the real deal. So with that being said, Steve, thank you. A Merry early Christmas and a Happy New Year. And my best to your family, your ever-growing family in a positive way. And I'll look forward to talking with you soon.
All the best, Dan. Hey, Merry Christmas. I probably won't talk to you before that.
Yeah, Merry Christmas. Take care.
See you, brother.
See you. That coming from Steve Addazio one more time, spending plenty of time here with us as we roll out all these conversations on college football and where to go from here. Some people are done with bowl season. I don't want to see bowl season anymore, Dan. It's watered down. There's too many. And you heard Steve talk about, hey, you keep expanding the playoff, you're watering it down. Well, you look at bowl season and you say to yourself, have we watered that down? Some people hear me say that and they go, Dan, is that even a question? There's 40 opportunities, including the college football playoff bowls, to get into a bowl game. So you're taking 82 of 136 teams. It's the only sport, the only level in America, high school, college, pro, that has more than half of the teams making it, more than 60% or more, which is crazy. We're taking 5 and 7 teams, 6 and 6 teams. You're taking teams that don't have winning records. They're either 500, below 500. One season, I think they took a Kansas State 4 and 8 team because they needed someone to fill a spot. So the bowl season in general, which I love because it gives us more football. It gives us opportunities to see teams that maybe you're never going to match up with each other. It puts us all over the country. Every game is on television. And on top of all of that, it gives the kids more practices. It gives the coaches the opportunity to play younger players, get some other guys out there. It gives money to the schools. The kids have a great time. They get, gift baskets and get to be involved in different events and whatnot. So there is a lot of value and exposure. Like I said, every game is on television. So it gives exposure. I mean, there's all positives that come to the schools, come to the kids. The part that really sucks is, are you home for the holidays, right? I'm going to argue always that there should be no games on Christmas Eve, no games on Christmas Day, and that's not just college football. That's the NFL. That's all of that. Because the NBA, why? You know what I mean? Why? So we can have something. Why don't we just spend time with our family? Watch Home Alone, right? Macaulay Culkin's not working on Christmas. That game was made, or that movie was made millions of years ago. But why do we have to have games on Christmas Day, on Christmas Eve, on New Year's Eve, on New Year's Day? Why not do it outside of that, right? I love going to the college football playoff. My dad's birthday is New Year's Eve. So I'm not going to be with my dad on his birthday, but I want to be with my dad on his birthday. And New Year's Eve is also leading into a holiday. So it's not just that it's my dad's birthday, it leads into New Year's Day. So, I mean, there's that part of scheduling as well, is why do we have to do that? You know, people say, well, I need to watch something on Christmas. I have to have something to keep my attention. Why don't you sit with your family at the dinner table? Why don't you sit with the people that you see once a year? You think I want to watch an NBA game or I want to hang out with my aunt, right? We've forgotten about family values. We've forgotten about being around the table, playing in the snow, going and Christmas caroling or celebrating Hanukkah, you know, going and watching carolers or going to an event or seeing lights on the lake in central New York. You know, we talk about what are we supposed to do if there's not a game on. Well, God forbid you celebrate Jesus' birthday. God forbid you spend a little more time with your family. There's plenty of things that we can do that don't involve somebody having to work away from their family on the holidays. It's not affecting us because we're watching, right? But it affects the media, myself, that travels. It affects the coaches and the players. It affects the families of those coaches and players and media. So I feel like we can do a better job with all of this that puts this country and this world back around family, back around things that matter, back around making sure that these kids that already have a crazy schedule and almost never get to see their family except for before or after a game, that they can be home with their family on Thanksgiving. They can be home with their family on Christmas, be home with their family to ring in the new year. Because if I've learned anything about life, there's nothing more important than being around the ones that you love, except for God himself. So, the game can wait. The tip-off can wait. Time with your grandparents, you may not get that again. Let's take a step aside for a fast break here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. We'll wrap up the show right after this, where sports meets life.
In these unique times, there are those in our community that give us a sense of normalcy and positivity. Pizza Man on 50 Oswego Street in Baldwinsville has been here for you for over 35 years and is here now. Call 315-638-1234 or order online at pizzamanbville.com to bring those familiar tastes into your home. And remember to come see our monthly on-site broadcasts centered around the community and our Baldwinsville Bees. Pizza Man in Baldwinsville. Any way you slice it, they are always here for you. Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes. Here's a message from Renee from Bryan's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York. Open Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and Sundays for brunch.
It's a lot like the way that my mom and dad ran their restaurant. We have put in place a lot of people that are family to us, very similar to how my dad hired people that were family to him. And then the tradition I'm carrying on is a lot of the items that are on our menu are my dad's. And he taught our chefs how to recreate his dishes. So I think that Tommy McNerney, who our executive chef is, to him it is an art. And I think that when he does create a dish, it's not just about making the food taste delicious, what is definitely our priority, but it's an art to him, and it's almost like his canvas on a plate where he just wants the colors to look great, and people love it because he takes pride in that. And Brian and I appreciate that. We want it to obviously look good and taste good. I will tell you, when we opened up, it was 6 weeks before COVID. And what was amazing was the community, our friends and family stepped up, and everybody did takeout. Everybody supported us. Our hearts were just so filled. So to Brian and I, obviously our friends come all the time, and we just have repeat customers in Jamesville, and I think people going to our previous restaurant in Green Lakes are making the trip to come to Brian's Landing to support us. And I mean, I think we have great food and a great atmosphere. So it's very, very important to us.
Head to Brian's Landing, located on 6523 East Seneca Turnpike in Jamesville, New York, where memories have become recipes that are now meals to share with you. Tuesdays and Wednesdays for dinner, Thursday through Saturday for lunch and dinner, and on Sundays for brunch. And be sure to come out for live music Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. Life gets busy, and sometimes that means us running around. So Canine Camp Dog Daycare offers you an opportunity to give your dog a place to stay while you take care of what you need to throughout the day. Canine Camp Dog Daycare is located on 228 Old Bridge Street in East Syracuse, New York. You can see it from the highway, and it's just off of Erie Boulevard across from BJ's Wholesale Club. Call 315-437-7110. That's 315-437-7110 to schedule an appointment to bring your dog in and tour the facility. Appointments are Monday through Thursday after 6:30, where you and your dog can see everything that Canine Camp Dog Daycare has to offer, including a self-serve dog wash and a retail store filled with all of your dog's wants and needs, including food, treats, harnesses, leashes, and more, making Canine Camp Dog Daycare your one-stop shop for your furry loving friend. Right, Lily? Avicoli's restaurant, located on 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York, has been serving our community for decades. Your place to go for home cooking on the corner of Route 57 and Wetzel Road is just minutes from Liverpool High School. And every single month, Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora is on site, on location, with Liverpool sports, student athletes, coaches, and administration telling their stories throughout the year. We look forward to seeing you on site at Avicoli's for their casual pizza side, their fine dining, as well as their bar. And of course, you can order online at myavicolis.com. That's myavicollis.com. For takeout, delivery, and catering, call 315-622-5100. That's 315-622-5100. Come on into the neighborhood spot Avicoli's, open 7 days a week in Liverpool, New York. Canine Campground Dog Boarding is your home away from home for your furry loving friends. Open 7 days a week with drop-off and pickup times in the morning and later on in the day and early evening. Canine Campground Dog Boarding is the spot to trust with your dog for short and long-term stays. Call 315-299-4013 for more information. That's 315-299-4013, and go to caninecampground.com as well. That's KAMP ground.com, where you will find all of the information on their different cabins, which include the classic cabin, executive cabin, grand cabin, and luxury cabin. Canine Campground Dog Boarding, where your dog will have indoor and outdoor areas as well as their own private cabin for any size, any breed, as well as dogs with different needs. Dog parents and dogs alike choose Canine Campground Dog Boarding. Isn't that right, Lily? Looking for your next ride? Look no further than Great Lakes Honda City, located on 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Serving our community for decades, their new and pre-owned vast array of vehicles are available to you Monday through Saturday on site. To search from home, shop at GreatLakesHondaCity.com. Call 315-365-5576 to set up an appointment. That's 315-365-5576 for Great Lakes Honda City, 7140 Henry Clay Boulevard in Liverpool, New York. Great cars, great people, Great Lakes.
Carvel DeWitt, it's what happy tastes like. Do you know why? Because we make ice cream. Creamy, rich, flavorful ice cream. Not yogurt or iced milk like some of our competitors. Ice cream. Fresh, by hand, daily. For the calorie conscious, we have something new for you. Our new Carvelite. Same great flavor, creaminess, and texture of our regular ice cream with only 35 calories an ounce. So whether you want an ice cream cake, flying saucer, dasher, carvalanche, hard or soft ice cream, we will satisfy your craving with our fresh, handmade regular or new Carvelite ice cream. Carvel DeWitt. It's what happy tastes like.
The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is located on 3680 Milton Avenue in the Home Depot Plaza. It is your family-friendly sports bar and restaurant. Folks, some sports bars aren't family-friendly. Some family-friendly restaurants are not sports bars. The Wildcat Sports Pub in Camillus, New York is proud to be both. It is that marriage that you've been looking for years. The Wildcat Sports Pub is your home base for your sports bar and restaurant needs, games for the kids, indoor and outdoor activities, and enough things on the menu to come back every single week and get to try something new. They're open Sundays from noon to 8 p.m., Monday through Wednesday, 11 a.m. to 11 p.m., and Thursday through Saturday from 11 a.m. to midnight. For reservations and party information, call 315-487-2222 for the Wildcat family-friendly sports pub and restaurant.
GG Cards and Breaks. Like, comment, subscribe.
GG Cards and Breaks coming to you on 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York is your one-stop sports card and trading card shop. Perfect for Christmas and your holiday shopping overall. Head to 639 Delmar Place in Syracuse, New York, Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 6, and Sundays open 10 to 5 right off of Teal Ave. You will find singles, packs, boxes, graded cards, the only store that has every NFL, every NBA, and every MLB team that I know of, 92 franchises right there on their back wall for you to look through and find your favorite players and favorite teams. They also have Disney Lorcana, Magic the Gathering, Yu-Gi-Oh!, Pokemon, One Piece, and more. While supplies last, GG Cards and Breaks is a place where you get to be a big kid, and that kid spirit gets to have such a connection to the teams, the players, and the characters that you love. There's no place better. GG Cards and Breaks. Head there today and let them know that DT sent you. Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. Proudly owned and operated by Megan Sorber. Her team bringing you the giant Chick-fil-A that we have, the giant brick building, double drive-through. You can order on the app. You can, of course, go inside, and you can go through the drive-through as well as connect with them for fundraising and catering. Find out more information by going to wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and clicking on the Chick-fil-A tab there, the Chick-fil-A logo there, I should say, of Chick-fil-A Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard. You can't miss it. They created a new light just so the traffic could be moved in and out of Chick-fil-A in DeWitt on the corner of Bridge Street and Erie Boulevard with all of your favorites, including the seasonal specials and my favorite peppermint chip shake, all at Chick-fil-A DeWitt today. Make sure you go and see them and support Megan Sorber and her team. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I can't believe we're already through our first 2 hours of the week, but we are, and I want to thank Gary Stokan as well as Steve Addazio for having this college football conversation roped around the college football playoff bowl season and the bigger questions overall of college football today. YouTube.com and Facebook.com, both /WakeUpCallDT is where you'll find us Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. Eastern Time and beyond that in our archived, as well as our archive shows on dt.podbean.com. Speaking of the archive, you can go to Amazon Music, Audible, iHeartRadio, iTunes, and Apple Podcasts, Player FM, Podbean, Podchaser.com, Podvine, Spotify, TuneIn, and YouTube. All you have to do is search Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, or one word, Wake Up Call DT. Download, subscribe, and follow us there for free. And of course, many thanks to our wonderful supporters in Central and Upstate New York. We are proudly partnered with the places I make my show free, so you can go spend money with those that partner with us. I'd rather you give it to them and get to my content for free, and then go and support Great Lakes Honda City, Carvel DeWitt, the Wildcat Sports Pub, GG Cards and Breaks, Myers Creek, with 2 locations, one on the countryside on 33 Rippleton Road in Cazenovia, New York, as well as in the Syracuse Inner Harbor on 720 Van Rensselaer Street in Syracuse, New York. Chick-fil-A Cicero, Ma and Pa's, the snack capital of the world, and the perfect place to get all your stocking stuffers this season with chocolate-dipped all kinds of stuff, including pretzels and Oreos. You'll find freeze-dried candy assortments, cotton candy, as well as more popcorn and kettle corn than you know what to do with, and their tins or half-price refills for the rest of your life, all at Ma and Pa's on 201 Old 7th North Street in Liverpool, New York. Pizza Man, Mother's Cupboard, where I have my signature breakfast sandwich exclusively in Central New York at 3709 James Street in Syracuse at Mother's Cupboard. 6 a.m. to 1:30 p.m. You can get the Cuse Mac Mother bacon, egg, and cheese inside of 2 pieces of French toast. Cut it up and have it with some syrup. Pick it up and eat it like a sandwich every day of the week. Game Point Sports Complex, the only place to go for indoor work all throughout the year, whether it be basketball, pickleball, as well as floor hockey, volleyball, and more, including a phenomenal place to host your party, right? If you got a kids' party or something going on with your team, got a little award ceremony, have it over at Game Point Sports Complex, 211 South Center Street in East Syracuse. Canine Camp Dog Daycare, which is right by Game Point Sports Complex, as well as Canine Campground Dog Boarding. Avicoli's, Brian's Landing, Chick-fil-A DeWitt, and we are the exclusive multimedia marketing partner of your Bryan and Stratton College Bobcats of Syracuse. Come see the Bobcats in the Bobcat Buzz, airing every single month, exclusively on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. Head to youtube.com/Wake Up Call DT. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our BSC Syracuse playlist. You'll also find the Bobcats by going to wakeupcalldt.com on the homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to syracuse.bscbobcats.com and go Bobcats. The Binghamton University Bearcats are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find your Bearcats every single Tuesday during Bearcat Time. Tuesdays at 10 a.m. Eastern Time worldwide. You will find your Bearcats here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Student athletes, coaches, administration, and alumni joining us all throughout the year. You can find it all by going to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our Binghamton playlist. You'll also find the Bearcats on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to binghamtonbearcats.com and go Bearcats. The Onondaga Community College Lasers are exclusive multimedia marketing partners with Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. Find OCC every single month, every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. That's bi-monthly, every other Wednesday at 9 a.m. Eastern Time. You will find the Lasers right here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, where sports truly meets that thing called life. So make sure that you check them out here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora. And of course, you can go to youtube.com/wakeupcalldt to get all of our laser content in what we call the Laser Lounge. Click subscribe, hit the notification bell, and find our OCC playlist on youtube.com/wakeupcalldt. You also find the lasers on wakeupcalldt.com's homepage and underneath the exclusive partners tab. For more information, go to onondagalasers.com and go Lasers. With that being said, here on Wake Up Call with Dan Tortora, I want to thank you for being a part of the show. I want to thank Gary Stokan, President and CEO of Peach Bowl, Inc., that oversees the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl, Aflac kickoff game, and more, for joining the show ahead of the college football playoff, with the Chick-fil-A Peach Bowl being one of the 2 semifinal games in this year's decision on who's going to make it to the national championship. And a big time thanks to longtime collegiate football coach as well as current college football analyst for ESPN, that being Steve Addazio, speaking with us on the greater college football conversation as well as the college football playoff and bowl season. With all that being said, I look forward to seeing you at Avicoli's on this snowy night tonight. Come and warm up with us and get some pizza and wings over at Avicoli's, 7839 Oswego Road in Liverpool, New York. Tonight, Monday, December 15th at 6 p.m., I will be there with the Liverpool varsity boys basketball team. Head coach and former Syracuse player Preston Schumpert will be joining me, as well as their student athletes that will be speaking on the show. The team is all invited, as well as all the families and you, the community, to support Liverpool High School varsity boys basketball right down the road from Liverpool High School at Avicoli's. We'll see you there tonight, December 15th at 6 p.m. Cannot wait to welcome you there. Very excited for that. Facebook at Wake Up Call DT, X at Call DT, Instagram at Wake Up Call _DT. For now, from the Great Lakes Honda City Studios, I say, on behalf of Gary Stokan, Steve Addazio, and myself, God bless, no stress, do your best. We'll talk soon. Stay safe.